Liz from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today's project is another of my how to get the best out of Sale-a-Bration with your Beautiful Peacock stamps. So, quick reprise. If you do not have your Spring-Summer catalogue and your Sale-a-Bration catalogue yet, and you're in the UK, hop over to my blog, which is linked below, and put in a request. And there's a form at the bottom of my blog for that. And I will get one in the post, or both of them in the post to you as soon as I possibly can. I have lots in stock, so just, yeah, it will be in a couple of days or thereabouts. So that's that. Sale-a-Bration. If you do not know about Sale-a-Bration, it is the best time of the Stampin' Up year because basically whatever you do with Stampin' Up, you get to earn free items. The main issue with Sale-a-Bration, or the main thing with Sale-a-Bration, is for a qualifying order you get to choose a free item out of this little catalogue. And it's stamps, it's ribbon, it's memories and more, it's card bases, it's designer series paper, and this year we've also got some thinlets as part of the deal. Now there are two items where you need to spend a bit more, and that's the thinlets and this enormous stamp set at the very back. They are indicated by these Calypso Coral markers. For those you need to spend £90 or more in order to qualify for either of those two. If you do spend £90 or more, you can either get one of those two or you can buy any two of the other items. I think the Party Pandas are going to go wild. They already have this year. So, but as I say, there's lots to choose from. If you're the sort of person that spends quite a lot, some of them are consumable, which does help. And as I say, it's the Beautiful Peacock that we're going to concentrate on today. But at the front of the catalogue, there are also details about the extra 2 stamp sets you get if you sign up onto my team during Sale-a-Bration. So that's in addition to your usual £130, you get 2 additional free stamp sets, and those are the full price stamp sets, not the ones from here. And also the host rewards, so the Stampin' rewards. If you spend over £200, you get an extra £20 of rewards. So there's lots and lots of stuff to get for free. And come the 16th of February, there'll be a couple of new items. I don't know how many exactly, so I'm using couple in the a few sense of the word. However, let us start with our project today. Now, I'm partway through on this, and you will see why in a minute, because this is a brush show project. This is just a protective mat, and these are my protective gloves, because I don't particularly want to end up covered in brush show, because it is gorgeous, but it's quite easy to get things stained with your brush shows. And I've got filming to do most of today, so I could do without having to wash my hands too many times. So for brush shows, you can use a variety of papers, but I recommend, certainly for this particular one, actually I don't need these on just yet, the watercolour paper. So if I go through the products I'm going to use, you will see how I get to more than £45. It actually comes out at £51, but it's still good to go, and you may actually have, if you've got one or two of the items, but one or two of the items, you can bring the cost of the packet down. So we've got the watercolour paper, which is £4.50, and this is really good, thick watercolour paper. It's heavy duty. Then the Versamark ink pad, because we're going to be heat embossing. White embossing powder. You could use clear, but I get better results for this particular technique with the white. Then the True Gent card pack, which is Tranquil Tide, Night of Navy and Crumb Cake. I'm not using the crumb cake specifically, I just want it for these two colours. Now what I'm not doing as part of this pack is the liner. If you've got white cardstock to use as a liner, then that's brilliant, but I haven't included that in my pack on the basis that most people do have white cardstock. So, watercolour paper, card, Versamark, embossing powder, True Gent cardstock, and then, obviously, the brushos. Now you get 5 brushos in your box, Peruvian blue, moss green, which I think is my favourite, yellow, brilliant red, and gamboge. I think it's gamboge. I have put one hole in the top of each of those and then put just a push pin for a board, for a cork board in the top, just to help seal them. Do not, under any circumstances, undo this, because if you do, you will end up with Brusho everywhere, and it's a waste, because these will last you a very, 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 very long time. So let's get started. So this is here to protect my work surface. The first thing we need to do is our heat embossing. I'm going to do this bit at a time, as in I'm going to stamp, put embossing powder on, stamp, put embossing powder on, and then heat at the end. I'm only using white embossing powder, but watercolour paper absorbs Versamark ink quite quickly. So in order to make sure that, gosh, that's not a very clean stamp. In order to make sure that that I can get the embossing powder on, I need to get it on quickly. That's a bit better, but still a bit damp, so let's dry that off properly. That's better. Right, so let's ink this up really well. If you've been following my videos this week, you will realise that I have been using this stamp set quite a lot. So it's not surprising that these stamps are beginning to stain, because photopolymer does stain. This is a padded work surface. If you don't have a padded work surface, you may want to use a piercing mat. So I am going to pop this sort of in the middle, but to the left, with his little legs going straight. Always a good plan. Don't press too hard, because otherwise if you have over-inked your stamp, you will transfer ink onto your paper. Now you can see that that's actually slightly tinted. That's because I didn't clean my stamp properly. It doesn't matter if you're using white embossing powder, and of course I should have used the embossing buddy before I did that, but you know, hey, doesn't matter too much with the Brushos because of the effect that I'm going for, fortunately. But yes, so if you are using clear embossing powder, you may want to make sure your stamps are a little bit cleaner than mine. This one goes underneath the tail and then up around the top, just making sure you don't hit his head. And again, don't go too wild with pushing, because you don't want to over ink your watercolour paper. And then pop that on. Yep. And then the final flourish, which I will again ink up. And pop that down there. Perfect. And again, embossing powder. Lovely. Right, don't need my, I just need to pop, see if I can get a little bit more embossing powder on his body. Yep, that'll do. Right. Okay, so we're at 8 minutes and all I've done so far is show you a piece of white paper. Ho-hum. Right, my trusty cheese board and my embossing, my heat tool. So just warm that up and cover up my Versamark as well. Clear the stamps away, clean those in a bit. Okay, so you probably won't see this terribly well, but now it does take a little longer than normal to melt embossing powder on watercolour cardstock. It's because the cardstock is so thick. And if you're one of these people that heats from underneath, which is fine, there are two schools, and some people go underneath and some go on top. But if you are one of these people that heats from underneath, it's going to take a very long time to emboss through watercolour card. Now with the white, I work on the premise that if it's not shiny, it's not being heated properly. So just need to, yep, okay, there we go, silence, hurrah. Right, and it's fallen over again. Right, this is one of our little spritzers. I'm going to spritz back and front, and I do that to help keep it flat. I don't want a huge amount of water on the front, but while I put my gloves on, that will kind of settle a bit. And the other thing you are going to need is some kitchen towel. So here's some kitchen towel. Now what I'm going to do is just lift off some of the water, not all of it, but just some of it. And then of course put some more on over there, because I want it slightly wetter than damp, but I don't want it yet to puddle. And I'm just going to wipe underneath as well, because again, now I've obviously got some brush show that I've transferred across because I've already got colour coming. It's probably from my hands because these are not clean. Right, okay, so Peruvian blue, actually, it's always worth, every now and again, giving them a shake because they do settle. So Peruvian blue, oh, can't get my pin out, and then already just by pulling the pin out I've got colour coming, and I'm just putting a very few of the crystals. You don't need a lot, trust me, you do not need a lot. And I'm just kind of doing it down this one side for the moment. Then moss green, and again I'm going to give it a bit of a shake and add a little bit just in the middle there, on his body, and maybe a little bit up here. Now moss green has all sorts of amazing colours in it, and then I've got the yellow, and again I'll give that a bit of a shake. Again, the yellow has all sorts of colours in it. The Peruvian blue is fairly just blue. It's not only blue, but it's fairly blue. And those are actually the only ones I'm going to use for this particular card. And then in with my spritzer, and you can already see that where it's damp it's beginning to move, and then if I spritz it becomes a complete muddy mess, and that's kind of what you want. So you can move the colour around a bit, but you can just about see that the embossing is resisting the ink, or the water, it's watercolour really. So if there's any areas where you think the crystals haven't dispersed enough, just spritz it a bit more. And then you can just get rid of some of the excess around the outside. And you can soak up some of the colour if it's too dark for you, or if it's just too wet for you. And just soak it up. Now, that is going to need to dry. And those of you who have watched my videos more than just once will know that I have got underfloor heating in my craft room, which is great for drying your brusho work on. So I'm actually going to pick all of this up and put it on the floor, and then we're going to have a bit of a Blue Peter moment. So let me take these off, because here's one I prepared earlier. So there we are, that is our final one. You will never get two the same. So this one is quite a, there's sort of more yellow here, but it was the same combination. So when it is dry, with a damp Q-tip, and I mean just damp, you can wipe any ink off the off the embossing powder, and that helps bring it through. But you can see that there's quite a nice relief there. So to stick all that down, I am going to put fast fuse on the back, and then, as is my thing with warped paper, I'm also going to put some multi-purpose glue down. Now, if you have a look at my YouTube channel, you will find that I've already done quite a lot of stuff with brush show. So if you want any, they're just basic technique videos. If you want any technique videos, do go and have a look at those, because they will certainly give you some ideas. I haven't even begun to touch on how much you can do with them, but they're a starting point. So that's there on that, and then Tranquil Tide, and this is standard A4 cut in half, scored down the middle, and then the layers are just 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch smaller respectively. So this is 1/4 of an inch smaller on two sides, this is 1/2 an inch smaller on two sides, and again I'll just pop some fast fuse, and I know I'm not doing what has become my standard of putting the fast fuse on the card base, and I wish I had, because this is going to be terribly near the edge. But there we go. And there we are. So there we go. And do be aware, you will get some transfer. Now, obviously, it would be a good idea to put a liner in, but because I haven't put that in the costing, I'm not including that. But brushos and Beautiful Peacock. So this week we have had basic stamping on a little 3x3 card. We have had two-tone metallic embossing, and we have had white embossing with brusho. So lots and lots you can do with your free stamp set. Now, obviously, it's not the only free stamp set that you can do it with, but for me, this was one that just shouted lots of technique. So I hope you've enjoyed this little series. I will be coming back with a different Sale-a-Bration item next week, and I'll also be doing some more on some of the other aspects of Sale-a-Bration rather than just the shop. So I look forward to seeing you very soon. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Then you get to see when new videos have been posted. If you subscribe, there's also a little alert bell that you can hit, and then you get an alert telling you that I've put a new video up, which is always a good idea, because you never know what I'm going to bring you. So do that. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. All the information and some close-up photographs and what have you will be in my blog post, and the link to this blog post is immediately below this on YouTube, as are all my contact details. There's a little link with all my contact details, so my Facebook page, Pinterest, Instagram, all in that little link. It's a great little facility that you just have one link, and it gives you buttons for each of my social media, including my shop. I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot for watching.